So one of the things that we've noticed about sleeping in the Scamp is that while you can turn off all the interior lights at night when you go to sleep, there is one light that doesn't turn off that lights this place up like a disco in the middle of the night, and it's this thing right here. It's the battery voltage indicator. There's no way to turn it off without unplugging it, but I thought that I would install just a momentary switch so that I can push a button to see what the reading is and then let it go, and then it'll only be on when we want it to be on. So that's today's project, and I hope it works. Find the wiring for this inside this cabinet. We'll open this up, and normally this panel will be covering all this. I've got it removed so you can see everything. And these are the two wires that go to that. If I take the one wire off like I have now, it goes off. And then with both wires hooked up, it stays on. So we're going to put it into a position where we can have one of these wires connected to a button down here so that I can turn it on and off when I want it. So I can push a button, it'll turn off, or it'll come on, and then when I let the button go off, it'll be off. Okay, so having removed the wires, you're going to come out with two wires. One is dark and one is white. I don't think it matters what position they're in, but just for reference, the darker colored one was on the top connector up here, and the lighter colored was on the bottom one down here. So I'm going to borrow some of this wire by just cutting it off, and then I'll run the wire to the button, and then from the button back to the display for the voltage, and then I should be able to control the power. So I found this little momentary switch at the auto parts store, and I bought the little connectors that go with it. So I'll be adding a couple of these connectors, and we're going to see what happens. Before I go cutting wires, I want to make sure I leave myself plenty of wire to get back to the switch. So I think just I can see that they've got some electrical tape on there. So just a little bit after that electrical tape, I can cut and still have plenty of room. So I'm going to cut off probably about this much. I'm going to add maybe an inch just to be safe and go right there. Okay, so this is that piece that I cut off. I went ahead and left the connection that was already on there because this is going to go back to the voltage display. This is the end I cut, and I've added a little female disconnect that will go to the back of the button right here. So that'll just slip on just like so. And then now on the other end of that wire, the part that I cut inside the trailer, I'm going to add another female end that will go to the other side. There we go. Now I got it the same disconnect, the little female end on the end of the wire as well. Now it's time to start adding that button. So I'm going to drill a hole through where I want the button centered, and then I'll work from this side to enlarge that hole like they did over here to accommodate the button itself. So as far as placement for this button, I'm going to center it right below the display. So kind of like right here. That way I can just press this button when I want to see the display. It kind of makes sense that it'd be right below it. So using just a small 5/64 inch drill bit, I went ahead and drilled a little pilot hole. This plate, by the way, is made out of plastic. It's really easy to drill through. Now I'm going to remove the plate so that I can access the backer board that's behind it. I'm going to need to drill a larger hole for it so that I can get my tool in there to hold this hex nut and tighten it up. So using a Phillips head driver, I went ahead and removed all 4 of these screws that's in each of the corners of this little plastic panel. Now if you have the furnace option on your Scamp, you're also going to need to remove this cover, and underneath it you're going to find the square headed screws that hold on this mounting plate for the furnace thermostat. So we're going to remove those 2 silver. You're also going to need to remove that display, and in order to remove that display, you're going to need to look up in here and remove this ring that goes around. Let me get my flashlight to work. That you can see, you just unscrew that ring. I'll show you when I get it off. So it's easier to show you with it out, but it was basically in there like so. And this is just a ring that screws on. If you're having a hard time breaking the torque to get that open, one of the things you can do is take the flat edge of your screwdriver and use it to push on these until you start working it. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and then it'll come right out of the hole. You're also going to need to disconnect the wires from the back of the switch. They're the green and white wires. I've already disconnected them. They look like this, and they just pull right off the back up here. They're plugged in like so. You just pop them off, and then this plate will come out. The red switch is connected to the plate, and I've got a little bit of slack here from my thermostat wire. I'm just going to allow that to just hold this plate like so, and now I have the work area where I can see where I drilled that little hole. I'm going to use that as a pilot to enlarge this hole to give myself a little bit more working room so that I can have something that can get on this nut. I just need a little room around it. So the packaging for this will have the instructions on what size hole to drill. On mine it's a 1/2 inch, so I've got my 1/2 inch drill bit on there, and I'm going to use the hole I drilled earlier as my pilot. The first thing I'm going to do is drill the 1/2 inch hole in the plastic plate, because the plate is actually what the button will mount to. Then I'll make a larger hole behind the plate like they did here, so that I have room to get a tool onto this nut and be able to tighten it up. So there's the 1/2 inch hole I drilled. It produces a lot of plastic shavings. Kathleen has just reminded me that what?
We did not bring a little vacuum.
So looks like Nick will be doing the old-fashioned sweep it into your hand and carry it outside method of cleaning. But right now, Nick is working on this switch. So the button has a little locking nut on it. I'm going to remove that. And then it also has this little rubber grommet that I'm going to leave on. It provides a seal between the mounting plate and the locking nut. I've already drilled my 1/2 inch hole, so I'm just going to put my button in. Since it's round, it doesn't matter which end is up, but I do want to orientate my little contacts to be the same as they are on the switch above it, which is above and below. So I'll be sticking it in just like that, and then I'll tighten up my nut on the back. So there we go. You can see that it's now on, and in the end, the button looks like it's going to be in the right place, about where I want it. Now I have to make a hole through here as access for this. I originally thought I had to make the hole a little bigger so I could tighten it up, but what I realized is I just need a hole big enough for the contacts to go through, so a 1/2 inch hole is going to work just fine. I could have just drilled the hole all the way through. This should allow me to just go right on there and have a nice seal. Still a little bit of, I can tell there's some resistance back there, and what it's hitting is it's hitting this locking ring. So I do need a little bit of larger hole around the end on this side of it, just for that locking nut to sit on. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little larger with a tool that I have. I'll show you what that is.
Look at this mess. This is what perfection looks like.
It's not a mess, it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress, folks.
This bit is called a step bit. If you don't have one of these in your toolbox, you need to get one. I got mine for free at Harbor Freight one day, so I really like it. It allows you to gradually increase the diameter of a hole. So right now I've got a 1/2 inch hole. I want to increase just one part of it to 5/8. So I'm going to step it up doing that. On the side of a step bit, it will show you, I don't know if you can see that, but it'll show you your increments. So I'm just going to put it in at 1/2 inch, and then I'm just going to keep working it in until I get to 5/8, and then I'll stop. So now I have a plate that's going to fit nice and flush because I've made more room for that silver locking nut on the back. But I want to increase the hole on the inside a little bit more so I can get my wires on. Then again, I could also just pass my wires through and hook them up. I'm going to see if I can just pass them through and hook them up on this side, and not need to increase that because, you know, I don't want to make any more of a mess. Okay, I was able to get the wires just passed through and hooked up, and now they're coming through the other side. So that's my white wire. It's going to go into the switch and then out from the switch, and when it comes out from the switch, it'll go onto the display. So now I have my display hooked up. You can see that the white wire goes into the switch, then it comes out from the switch and it goes into the display. And then this is the darker cable. It never changed, so it's just going to hook up to the top. So now when I push my button, I'm going to be able to see the display, and then I can let go, and we can have a night without the disco light. Yeah, baby. All right, I'm going to get all this put back together. So when you go to reconnect your fresh water pump switch, you're going to notice that you have 3 male connections, but you only have 2 wires. If you look closely, the bottom 2, if it's positioned correctly, are going to be silver, and the top one is going to be copper. I think that copper one is just a basically a constant hot switch to allow the switch to light up if you want to, and I don't want it to, and it doesn't anyways. So you want to make sure that you connect your 2 wires to the 2 silver leads, and that way your pump will work when you turn it on. Now, before we slide this back in, we need to disconnect the wires here again so that I can put on my ring. I hadn't done that yet, so I went to put it in and realized I can't get this back on without these wires being off. So I'm going to disconnect these, slip them through the ring, and then reconnect them here. Okay, with that on now, I'm going to go ahead and put back on the mounting plate for the furnace thermostat. Okay, now that I've got my mounting plate on, I'm going to go ahead and put back in my 4 screws for this panel plate. Okay, with my 4 screws in, now I'm going to put back on my thermostat. Now, I didn't point this out at the beginning. I thought most people knew, but I'm going to point it out now. Hopefully you watch this whole video before you go and do this. But at the bottom of your thermostat mounting plate, there's 2 tabs. And then there is a retractable tab at the top. It goes up and down. So the way to put this on is to first anchor the 2 ones on the bottom and then just swing it up and click it in place. And for removing it, it's the opposite. You want to pull up or off at the top and then rotate it down and take it off. There we go. Heat set to off. And now we're done. What do you think, baby?
I think it looks dirty. Everywhere.
Yeah, but it works. Look. Beep. It's awesome. No more disco light. It's going to be so nice. When we need to see it, we can see it. So cool. All right. Everything else works. We're good to go. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. We rely upon people like you to help pay for things like this. Bye-bye.